enjoy the church and want to show your appreciation, you always have a basket. But in the words of a very famous Irishman, sadly no longer with us, Neil Avenue. Belfast relied on the Empire and was named after the Empire. Sebastopol Street, Crimea Street, Jerusalem, and Ireland is unique in that it's the only country in Europe to have adopted Christianity while not being part of a Roman Empire. So they adopted their own version. It was called Celtic Christianity, and it spread across Northern Europe for the next years. No famine. 100th of July, the Orange Order, they celebrate the victory of King William III of England over his father-in-law and uncle, King James II, at the Battle of Boyne in Ireland. So much so that it got a amend to just to the left. The courthouse building on the right is connected to the jail on the left by a tunnel underneath us. If you were found guilty, you were quite literally sent down. Now this area became infamous, military murals greeting you as you turn into their quiet cul-de-sacs. Belfast has changed dramatically since I worked here between 76 and 91. Last year 150 cruise ships docked in Belfast. Most of the hotels were filled now. We had lost loved ones to paramilitary violence on both sides. Club number 21, flag of St. Patrick, but it's been abandoned. Flag. This time, the date 1916 still relevant. Ahead on the right, the Ulster Tower commemorates those from the 36th Ulster Division that perished at the Battle of the Somme in 1916. Ironically, the 36th Ulster Division fought alongside the 16th Irish Division in 1917. And it's ironic because both were raised initially to fight against each other in the form of their paramilitary predecessors, the Ulster Volunteers and the Irish. They are all already dead. They were once real and living people. Both sides to move into what they saw as a new recruiting ground. Children as young as 14 and 15. They were once again vulnerable. Only this time it was to indoctrination and then to enlistment. Once in, very rarely out of any of the paramilitary organisations. But now there's 11 million people have signed this wall. Admittedly, most of the signatures are under many layers of paint. It gets painted over every year. Create a blank canvas for a new graffiti artist competition to take place. Once it's over, people start signing their names and leaving messages of hope for the future. Some very emotive, some quite funny. But the words of the more famous have been embedded in a section of the wall coming up in about 100 meters. Our stump 19 is beside that section. The words of the Dalai Lama are there. Open your arms to change, but don't let go of your values. There's no doubt that the people on both sides of this wall have suffered terribly during what some will call the Troubles, others will call the conflict, and others will call the war. But regardless of what they choose to call that time period, no one has a monopoly on suffering. Even though 90% of the bomb attacks happened in Belfast. Simple mathematics, a little bit of logic would have told you were safer, and it maintains the same basic themes. The support for the state of Palestine is fairly obvious, but once we go through the peace wall again, it's not just religion that changes. International politics changes dramatically, especially when you look to the right and you see the obvious support that is in the Irish language, the words of Patrick Pearse. And stop number 18 is the closest stop to the International Wall, a series of murals that the people of the Falls Road, the nationalist people, can identify with. If you walk up the Falls Road on any given day, you'll see people wearing religious. Stop number 18 coming up. But coming up on the right is D Company IRA Garden of. But just up ahead on the right there's wavy blue fencing that replicates strands of human DNA. And that's to remind us that we're all human. Here in Belfast, most of us are related, regardless of religion. Our DNA is like a jumbled up mix-up of all the nations that had something to do with Ireland's past. Nobody but nobody lived in Ireland 10,000 years ago. It was far too cold. Some people argue it still is. The Ulster Unionist of the 20th century. Coming up on the left, this is a statue of James Connolly, executed in 1916 after ethnicity and nationality gets so muddled up because of the violence and the turmoil here, that you will have people that will not identify as being Irish in ethnicity. Well, as their cultures are very different, their politics, they're diametrically opposed, with one wanting in and the other wanting out of the United Kingdom. The issue of nationality was addressed in 1998. Even having an Irish nationality wasn't possible. It's been waived. A lot of whether a sport is played on an All-Ireland basis, a North-South basis or a provincial basis will depend on where the governing body is located. With football, Northern Ireland as a governing body, flags been waved at those matches. People of a nationalist tradition, the word Irish in it was abandoned by one tradition and embraced by the other. Now with that, of course, there were casualties. Irish dancing, Irish music, Irish language. Abandoned by one, embraced by the other tradition. They learn British history and play what a lot of people consider to be English games like soccer and rugby. Nationalist here very much depends on your within Malone Lodge Hotel. In the distance straight ahead are mansions that come and breathe cleaner air here on the outskirts of Belfast. Today though it would be considered the sexes. Catholic emancipation might have arrived in 1829. Women, however, would have nearly 100 more years to have to wait. On the left, guarding the entrance to the Ulster Museum, is the statue of Lord Kelvin, one of the greatest thinkers of all time. Born in Belfast, educated in Glasgow, where he's very much revered with the Kelvin Grove Museum. 8,000 come from outside of Northern Ireland. That in itself testament to the success of our peace process. For who sends or allows their beloved children to go anywhere where they think we're putting them in danger? People that have went to take it away and sit in a park bench with it. The restaurants are up to the left, we go straight on, and our stop number 13 is right outside Lavery's bar. They claim to pour 1,000 pints of Guinness every day. Some people have argued that that's not really that much. It is when you've only 20 toes. When we turn left, we're turning into Great Victoria Street, and this is by far the most well-known of all the Belfast streets. It was seen on most countries' television news channels, but for the wrong reasons, as it contains the Europa Hotel. At one time, the most bombed hotel in the world. It's now come through its trials and tribulations to be one of Belfast's most popular hotels and prestigious hotels. It's now one of 52 city centre hotels. But generally, it was low paid. But people came in such non-Catholic faith, were unionist in their political viewpoint, but it wasn't exclusively so. And divided city for so long. When Belfast became a city in 1888, until very recently, it was always the most popular stop. If you're going to the Titanic experience, cross over at the lights just ahead of where salmon should be reintroduced. And after an absence of nearly 200 years, they've been coming back to breed ever since. On the left, one of the Game of Thrones, Glass of Thrones, just directly to the left now. They can all be found on the Lagan Side Trail. They were unveiled after each episode of Series 8 was aired. And on the left now, the tallest thing safe. Coming down the stairs head first is always entertaining, but it can be quite painful. Yes. You can rejoin the tour at any of the bus stops on the tour route. As long as you're at a bus stop,